Yeah, I'm gonna put this up. I think I can get it up okay. Um, let's see, how do I do this? I can't. I can't go back on this. It was a few videos ago that I put this up, and I can't find it right at the moment. I've done a lot of videos, and even the last ones, I can't go back and right at the moment and look. I think I understand though but I wanted to say this about what happened about was in this video. First of all, Victor Gonzalez was at Parkland, so he has this connection. He was at Parkland in Dallas when Kennedy was brought in, John Kennedy, JFK, and he ended up coming to Huntsville, Alabama. And this is when my husband and I had moved back to Huntsville, and my husband was working at, I think he was working at Brown Engineering. It's the space industry and all that. And that's where Noe, who I later met, I met him there with John working at Brown. So you've got FBI agents, you've got different agencies working in the space industry as if they were just another employee and nobody knows it. Now, don't let me lose my train of thought here. I'm going to. Noe shows up again in Grottoes, Virginia in 84, 85. And I hope I'm not getting him in problem because he did nothing wrong that I know of. He happened to be FBI, and thank God somebody. The Brits are the ones and the Germans, but the Americans, the Brits, well, I'm not going to say much more. They were the ones that stuck it out. I don't know if they're still able to, but they sure gave it their all. They did. I'm talking about the British government did, intelligence, and maybe I'm saying the wrong thing. Maybe I should delete this. Isn't it something in where you're told that you have freedom of speech and all this and it's a bunch of garbage? At least for me, it's been. All the civil rights organization, no one has come to it. Women's rights, nobody touches it. It's so ugly. Now let me get back to this if I can. Noe shows up again in Grottoes, Virginia in 84, 85. And he drives in and I am pumping gas there. It's after the campaign out at Flint's in 83. He furnished me a car and I never spoke to him again. I found out he was in jail in Butner, North Carolina, federal prison for contempt of court. You should see what they did to this man and then, and me. Contempt of court, for God's sake. The one thing that they've done throughout this, Larry Flint wore the American flag because everything, this man or whoever, I know the FBI run Hustler, but he tried to help when others didn't. I mean, they shut it down. They did not want the truth told about their connection as best friends to the UK or to the British, because a special relationship is what they tell. Well, is that they kidnapped the Queen of England, me, and they hold me hostage over here. I'm allowed to tell all this, well, tell what I can. I'm living in hell, to put it bluntly, and trying to put a good face on it and hope one day I always wanted to pay back because I have met the Brits and they have been here. I don't know how it's changed over there now. I know that that William and Kate and Meghan and Harry and Charles, and I mean, it's such a rambunctious, that's a cute word to put for it. that's been allowed to run amok. They did things. My father was not guilty of any of those things. The double married Wallace Simpson. He was married to Claudia Ruth O'Keefe, and they remain married and alive in, I'll say it again, October the 20th of 86, when I came to Roanoke. And yes, the Brits were on the Appalachian Trail, the Germans. There were a few there from other countries, and somebody could say, well, they'll come up with. It's very odd when I'm telling this, because there was a guy from, where was he from? Sweden. And he came over when he was a baby, was brought over as an immigrant. But he's in the U.S., been in the U.S. Navy, I believe he said, and his wife, and they were way up there. So what's he doing out at Arcadia when, at one of the times out there, and so much was done to me? That's where I went out there to camp, and it's a horror story, everything that, it's a wonder I'm able to get through the day or night or anything. He told me that people saw me as an interloper because when I found out about my name and kidnapping, I started telling about it. Well, people didn't like it because I was telling about the government and the mind control and Tesla files and all that. Even though if it ever is told, and the mainstream media has to tell it, and of course they are controlled by the Illuminati, so what am I going to do? You think they're going to tell it? Somebody would have to force it, or bring this back into court on the good way to bring it back is on the Watergate hearings, and finish it with the culmination of it being telling about Kissinger, who was head of state and head of defense there under Nixon. And he was on the other end of the Watergate tapes, and he was given the order to lobotomize me if Great Britain didn't cross their palm, or my family too, whatever their ransom was. So, yes, they paid ransom to keep me alive. They have, in different forms and ways. So the government of Great Britain wasn't corrupt, and I hope I'm not saying anything out of line here, because it hurts. I can't tell some of it. And God knows, I hope that I can live to see my kids and repay them, that they didn't forget me and sell me out. So, very tired. I've seen people be so cruel and mean. And I've seen people eat and buy clothes and live luxurious lives. And I know what they did to my children. And half of it, who do people think financed NASA in Huntsville, where they brought me to Moulton, Decatur area there, but they brought me to Moulton. But Moulton's only 45 miles from Huntsville. Decatur gets into this mess at times. They're 20 miles, they're in between Moulton and Huntsville and Space Center. Werner von Braun and the German scientists. Everything that's done is the Nazis. They call it the Nazis. God help if God comes in, somebody tell the truth about this whole mess. Now, I guess I'm babbling, and I meant to get up here and tell, I guess I was going to tell about Gonzales here. I'm answering the question. I'm a bit confused on I think I have it here, and I can't, and I think I know what the person meant. But the Illuminati were the ones that took my father down because he wouldn't go along with them. And therefore, if all you have to do, because people are connecting it now, I didn't at first for a long time, when they took my father down because he would not sign treaties that allowed the United States to come in and put the military bases all over the UK. For God's sake, people, all you have to do is look at the world. They have bases everywhere. And they create the Illuminati sitting right up there in New York with Rockefeller headquarters and your media that's so corrupt. And the fact that they've never told about me and the takedown of my dad and that being a double, and what's been done to my children and the mind control murders that really happen, so many of them right here in this country. And people have to be told by the media that's controlled before they'll believe it. So if it's ever forced to be told, what are they going to say? They're going to want to file suit. Anyway, my father has been in history, left in history, as one of the most. They made a villain out of him when he's the opposite. Now then, I'm going to get to this. In prophecies in Bible, it tells about chipping of people, mind control, in the end times, mark of the beast and all this. I did not know when I started doing the book anything I could not remember. I did after I was told. And I put it together over time with the Brits being there. And I could give you some scenarios, but I'm not going to at the time. It wouldn't change anything right at the moment anyway. And you might get somebody hurt. So I know that they've been there. The Brits. And it's got to have been terribly hard with Elizabeth and some of my family being a part of all this. It's got to have been terribly hard for them to keep their head above the water and live. In fact, there was a Brit, and I can't remember his name, came over. It was somewhere up in New York a few years ago. And he was with British intelligence. But they didn't know it. He married, and he loved his wife and everything as far as I could see. He's a nice man. He didn't do anything wrong. But he had ties to the British intelligence. For God's sake, do people think the Brits aren't supposed to come after me or try to help me? God help if everybody had tried. Anyway, he was accused of killing his wife and baby that had just been born. And he's in jail, in prison up there. He did not do it. Then there was the nanny that was from Great Britain. She went home. She was found not guilty for killing a baby that she was accused of shaking baby syndrome. And then they found her innocent. She went back to the UK, worked for a group of lawyers. I can't remember the name, but there's some of these things that I remember. And I remember there were some people very concerned that were British about what happened to this gentleman. He's still in prison in Boston. This is in Boston. I wish I could remember his name. And I tell you one soul that is a good one while I'm up here, and that's Julian Assange. If I had to vote in the category of best honest person, he would have to be in the top three. My dad and he and Warner von Braun. He's an honest man. He's done nothing wrong. How dare him have to live the life he has lived simply because he told the truth and he cared about fighting for his country, and he cared about me and his mom. And now then, if I sound rambling, I've earned the right to ramble. I've told the truth. And I'm going to get back to Victor Gonzalez here. He was in Huntsville. No, let me get back to Noe. He was the FBI agent that was with my husband back in about 62 at Brown Engineering. And he's probably deceased by now because he was, this is in 84, 85. And I would pump his gas. I was pumping gas to get money, and I've got this Hustler car furnished to me, and I can't put gas in it because I don't have money. So I'm here at a gas station, Reineke's, and they were of German ancestry, and thank God they had some people in law enforcement that weren't corrupt. But anyway, I met Noah. He had retired supposedly up there, so my tracks were made out for me. They were. His wife would come with him, and they had tainted windows or something. She would never get out, and Noe would get out and come in and talk to me real friendly. And I remembered John taking his picture after he introduced me to him back in 62 when they were together at Brown Engineering. So he was friends of my husband. I began to wonder. I thought somebody told me that should know that my husband was CIA. I have to wonder now if he was within British intelligence, because there's some things, once I found out about my kidnapping, I went back and tied together. I think they did all they could to bring me through this and my children. So how could I not want to repay them? Anyway, you've got this Victor Gonzalez that's there in Huntsville. And I'm skipping around. I left from Noe up in, up in 84. He was FBI. And he would come in, and he told me, he said, what you're telling, he was standing at the counter, and he said, what you're telling, everybody knows is true, but they don't want to get involved, and they'll either help you or walk away. Well, most of them all walked away. He said it's not until they know how to fix them that they care. And by the way, there's one of the agents down in Atlanta pretend he was bored when he was talking to me. And he said, you know what people do with what you're telling? You bore them. It's only when they find out how to, he said it again, that they care, how to fix them, that they care. So now then, let me see if I can go back to Gonzalez and when I was taken to be lobotomized. I saw him, and Kathy was, what was she? Her father was a mentor. He was a teacher at the university in Louisiana, and evidently Gonzalez was under him. He went to medical school there, and they were friends. Now this man sends his daughter Kathy to Parkwood. Now this is a conglomerate of a hospital. Parkland, Parkwood, and you should see how they've grown now by this time, because all this mind control stuff has also been using the mental health system. One has nothing to do with the other, but they're all pushed in and blamed on mental illness or mental health, which is a total lie. And people have been, why are none of the psychiatrists doing anything about this, talking about it? Because they do know, even Dr. Phil doesn't. It's going to go off in a minute. I might as well turn it off because I'm going to have to do another one, I guess.